दिलों में प्यार की खुशबू तो होठों पर दुआ रखना, इमाम वक्त से एक रिश्ता इश्क को वफा रखना, इमाम वक्त से एक रिश्ता इश्क को वफा रखना।
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Dear viewers, welcome back to another episode of Friday Sermon for Kids, in which we discuss the Friday sermon of Huzur Anwar Ayyadahullah Ta'ala bin Aziz. May Allah be his helper. For this show, I have with me on my right Khalik Ahmed and on his right Rameez Ahmed. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
So alhamdulillah. So dear viewers, in this week Friday sermon, Huzur Anwar Ayyadahullah has explained to us that the responsibilities that we have in the Jama'at are a trust, and we should fulfill our responsibilities in that regard. So let's now watch that clip.
तो इन तंजीमों के मेंबरान को चाहिए कि जो भी मजलिस इंतखाब के मेंबर बने वो अल्लाह ताला के हुक्म के मुताबिक अपने राय दही का हक इस्तेमाल करें और दुआ के बाद और इंसाफ से अपनी नज़र में बेहतरीन शख्स की सिफारिश खलीफा वक्त को पेश करें। अगर हम इंसाफ के साथ अपने इस फरीज़े को सरअंजाम देने वाले बन जाएंगे तो तभी जमाती तरक्की में हमारा किरदार मुस्बत होगा और हम अल्लाह ताला की रज़ा हासिल करने वाले हो जाएंगे।
So dear viewers, we've just heard our beloved Huzur, may Allah be his helper, that any responsibility which Allah Ta'ala grants us is a trust. And we have many responsibilities to fulfill in that regard. So this is going to be the talk for today. But before that, I will be speaking with my two panelists. And I want to know what points have you remembered for this week's sermon. So I will first go to Khalik. Khalik, what have you remembered?
Rabbi Saab, my point is that when Huzur reminded us that we should serve the Jama'at with humility. Sometimes when someone gets an office, they change their attitude and they try to get power and ability. We should always be serving the Jama'at with humility.
Very amazing points, Khalik. Very, very important to show always humility whenever Allah Ta'ala grants us a responsibility, as it is a trust. And Huzur Anwar mentioned that Allah Ta'ala is watching each and every action of ours, right? So we always have to remember that this responsibility, we are accountable for it. So Rameez, what have you remembered?
Murabi Sahib, what I learned from Huzur, may Allah be his helper's Friday sermon, is that when there is an election for office bearers, participants should never wish or desire to be given a certain position in the Jama'at. Secondly, I learned that an office bearer should always be humble and should have a good connection with all members of the Jama'at.
So again, mashallah, amazing points, humility and not to desire any office. So now we will go to other children around the globe and let's see what they remembered in the Friday sermon of Huzur Anwar Ayyadahullah. So now let's go for Kids Take.
From the Friday sermon, I learned the office holders in the Jama'at should be kind to children and absolutely everyone.
In today's Friday sermon, beloved Huzur told us that any responsibility given to a office bearer is an imanat. Assalamu alaikum. Brother Huzur told us to be humble.
So Jazakallah, Ahsan Jaza to all of you. Keep sending in your videos. So now we will be going to our discussion.
So Murabi Sahib, Huzur, may Allah be his helper, has told us a verse from the Holy Quran. What was that about?
So Jazakallah, Rameez, a very important verse of the Holy Quran. The verse is, Inna Allah ya'amurukum an tu'addul amanati ila ahliha. That verily Allah Ta'ala commands us to make over the trust to those who are entitled to them. A very important verse. So Huzur Anwar Ayyadahullah gives us or explains to us that whenever we have to elect someone for a responsibility, whenever we are in a position where we have to choose someone, then we have to make sure that we choose the best person. We should not elect someone because he's our friend or because we know him or because he's our relative. We should pray to Allah the Almighty and we should try to choose the best person for that responsibility. And this is a commandment of Allah the Almighty.
Rabbi Saab, I remember Huzur saying that we should lead by example. What does that mean?
So Jazakallah Khalik, a very important aspect to remember is to lead by example. Now, for example, if you are eating an ice cream and you tell another kid you should not eat ice cream, would that make sense?
That's odd because he's telling someone else to do something he's not doing.
So yes, that's very important to remember. And Huzur Anwar Ahadahullah, may Allah be his servant, mentioned it. He said that if we are encouraging people to pray for prayers and then we are not praying ourselves, then it is not going to have a positive effect. We have to lead by example. We have to remember that Allah Ta'ala is watching us. Allah Ta'ala sees everything. We cannot hide anything from Allah the Almighty. And we will be accountable for whatever we are doing. So what do we have to do? We have to seek help from Allah the Almighty. We have to do istighfar. And we have to lead by example.
Practice what we preach. It totally makes sense.
Yeah, I remember Huzur, may Allah be his helper, saying that we should never ask or demand to be in charge of anything.
Again, amazing point, Ramiz. To not desire an office or a position. If you look at our society, we have elections, we have campaign going on. We do campaign for our election. We ask people to vote. But in the Jama'at, in Islam, it is the opposite. The moment you desire an office, you are disqualified. Why? Because Huzur Anwar Ahadahullah has said that we have to show humility. And the people who are electing someone, they should pray to Allah the Almighty and, of course, seek forgiveness to Allah the Almighty and try to choose the person who is the best according to their own regard. Huzur Anwar Ahadahullah said that we should not just vote for someone. For example, if you are in an election and you see that the majority has raised their hand for a person, Huzur said we should not just raise our hand because everyone is voting for that person. But what we should do, we should vote for the person who is the best for us. And again, we should not desire any position. We should show humility. We should show ajizi.
Wait, Rabbi Saab, what in the world is ajizi?
Yeah, you lost me too.
So lucky for you guys, we have with us Adar, who is going to fill us in for the word of the sermon.
Jazakallah guys. So the word ajizi comes originally from Arabic. It comes from the three roots of a-ji-za, which means someone became lowly and humble. So the word ajizi means humility. When you have ajizi, it means you talk to people with happiness and kindness, and don't just shrug them off and ignore them. It is so important to have ajizi, especially when you become a leader, because that's when you risk becoming arrogant, which is very bad and against the teachings of Islam. Back to you guys.
Jazakallah Athar for this very important reminder.
Yes, indeed, we need constant reminders for being humble.
Yes, indeed, Ramiz. These reminders are very important, and we are blessed to have Huzur Anwar Ahadahullah, who is constantly reminding us that we should show humility. We should not be arrogant. We should not desire any office. But we should serve the Jama'at members. We should take care of them, and we should lead by example.
Serving the people, I think there was hadith on that, right?
So absolutely, but in order to know more about it, let's go to our next amazing segment, which is the question of the sermon. So welcome to our segment, the question of the sermon. It is a weekly question that we will be asking to our dear panelists. So the question for today's show is, what is the English translation of Sayyidul Qawmi Khadimuhum? It is a hadith. So what is the translation of Sayyidul Qawmi Khadimuhum? You have 4 options. Okay? Number 1, a leader of a nation is the king of a nation. Number 2, a leader of a nation is the servant of a nation. Number 3, a nation needs a leader. Number 4, a nation is strong with a king. So you have 10 seconds to answer, starting now. Time's up. So Khalik.
I will pick number 4. A nation is stronger with a king.
Okay, let's see what the Ramiz has to offer.
I think it's number 2. A leader of a nation is a servant of a nation.
So Jazakallah for your answer. Now we'll be announcing the correct answer. The correct answer was answer number 2, B, which was a leader of a nation is the servant of a nation. So Ramiz, you got it right this time.
Alhamdulillah, yes.
So Jazakallah, Ramiz, well done, mashallah. So again, a very important hadith, a leader of a nation is the servant of a nation. It is, in other words, a summary of the entire sermon of Huzur Anwar, ayadahullah ta'ala bin Nasr al-Aziz, a hadith which he himself mentioned in his sermon. So we should serve people, we should not desire any position, and we should not think that we have any superiority over other people. We are all equal, and we should treat others as we would want to be treated ourselves.
Jazakallah Marbi Saab for this beautiful explanation.
So dear viewers, there were a lot more incredible points, so watch the full khutbah and get back to us.
Marbi Saab, isn't it time for the closing review?
Yes, Ramiz, you are right, but before that, let's go to our weekly reminder.
Did you enjoy this week's Friday sermon for kids? Want to know how you can make it even better? Tell us what you learned from beloved Huzur's Friday sermon and send your videos at FS4KIDS@mta.tv no later than every Sunday, and we'll try our best to include them in our next show.
Now we can't include all the videos you guys sent to us. So you guys can visit our Instagram and Twitter at MTA Canada and see all the videos you guys sent to us. Remember, at Friday Sermon for Kids, you're not just the audience, you make the show.
So everyone, now it's time for our little lesson of the week. So pay close attention.
We learned that we should always fulfill any responsibilities whenever we're given an opportunity to serve in the Jama'at. When we're asked an opinion or elect or choose somebody, we should always elect a person that is best for the position.
We have also learned that we should never desire a certain position, but we should show humility. We should not be arrogant, but we should be seeking forgiveness from Allah the Almighty.
That Huzur Anwar ayadahullah ta'ala bin Nasr al-Aziz has said that we should have a personal relationship with each Jama'at member. Whenever we are given an opportunity to serve, we should get rid of any vested interest. But we should only serve the Jama'at members to gain the pleasure of Allah the Almighty. And we should take care again, and we should of the Jama'at members, and we should show love and care and affection to the Jama'at members. So may Allah Ta'ala enable all of us to serve the Jama'at members according to the expectation of Hazrat Khalifatul Masih ayadahullah ta'ala bin Nasr al-Aziz, may Allah be his helper. Ameen.
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 So of course, these were just a few points of the sermon of Huzur Anwar ayadahullah ta'ala bin Nasr al-Aziz.
Make sure to watch Huzur's full khutbah.
And until next week,
Khuda Hafiz.
मगर है शर्त तुमसे मुसलसल राबता रखना, मगर है शर्त तुम उससे मुसलसल राबता रखना। इमाम वक्त से एक रिश्ता इश्क वफा रखना, दिलों में प्यार की खुशबू तो होंठों पर दुआ रखना। इमाम वक्त से एक रिश्ता इश्क वफा रखना, इमाम वक्त से एक रिश्ता इश्क वफा रखना।